Have you observed the paradigm shift that occurs when the more you get involved with this hobby, the more you find you end up collecting? For example, the garage sale that's going on behind me. Now, this could be prohibitive, not only due to partners, location, or just general ergonomics. So there are those of us who are looking for a more discreet listening station. But as a rule, they come with compromises. And it's rare to find one that does not, especially if you're cruising around the Summit tier flagship headphones that require finesse and control. I am very glad to say, from the company FERRUM from Poland comes the OOR and its companion, the HYPSOS linear power supply. Let's talk. A very special thank you to Mimic Cables for sending both of these units in for review. It's very much appreciated, mate. You are an absolute legend. These units both landed for review close to 4 months back, so we've had ample time to put it through its paces and on a variety of headphones, DACs, and IEMs, which we will discuss momentarily. But first of all, let's dispense with these very large boxes and see what's inside. So you pay $2,000 for the OOR headphone amplifier, and you pay $1,150 for the linear power supply, and it's not just a basic power supply. There is so much more that goes into the HYPSOS. It's absolutely insane. Probably one of the most smartest power supplies I've had coming through here. So, but one step at a time, let's look at this first box. This one being the OOR. We get a very ergonomically designed, nice. Let's have a look at this. This looks like an iPad Air box. So this is the OOR. Let's dispense with this on this side. I think there is room, or there should be. And we get a switch mode 24 volt power supply, which we will look at momentarily. And we get some very nice spongy stuff and some description card thing. Let's dispense with this box. This one is not necessary. Now, this other one is much heavier, same size box, looks like another iPad Air box. Let us venture inside. Instructions, a very nice protective foam. Actually, this foam is really cool. It's one of them chewy ones that doesn't break apart. Power cord. This is very important. This is the 4-pole coupling power cable between the OOR and the HYPSOS when these two, oh my goodness, this one's heavy. This one is much heavier. Let us put this here for now and dispense with this box as well. We are going to actually take the OOR, which sits on top of the HYPSOS like so, first. So you pay $3,150 or you contact Mimic for a better deal. But this is the unit. This is a very small footprint for what you get. Look at the May and Serene behind me. Compared to those, that's tiny. But it weighs quite a lot. So this is 2.8 kilograms plus 1.8 kilograms, giving us the total of 4.6 kilograms. So it weighs the same as a very large Christmas chicken. Okay, let's take a tour of the unit. This one being the headphone amplifier, the OOR. We get a very nice volume pot that has got good resistance, so no chance of accidentally knocking it and going right up to the max, which is very fortunate. The volume pot inside this unit is the Alps RK27 Blue Velvet. This is a pretty good potentiometer. It's not too bad at all. I've seen much worse in much higher pricing. Also, these pots have the ability to attenuate between 2 dB of fluctuation to actually sort out imbalances if you're using this with sensitive monitors, which is fantastic. Obviously this unit can be used as a pre, but we will get onto that momentarily. And then we have the low gain, medium gain, and high gain. Single-ended in, off, in the middle, balanced in. It's kind of strange that to go from balanced to single-ended, you actually end up switching the unit off. But I suppose if you are starting the day, you go, okay, single-ended today, and then you're done, or go, balanced today, and back to off. These control switches are stiff, clicky, and very, very well placed. They don't rattle, they don't move. This is really well designed, this unit. And then we have obviously the 4-pin XLR balanced out and the 6.3 jack single-ended out. Flipping the unit around, we have the following. So this is the balanced in, single-ended in, balanced out, which can be used as pre, as I mentioned earlier, and single-ended out. Then we have a bypass switch to completely bypass the pot and turn this into a little power amp. Then we have a volume control-esque wheel. This adjusts the brightness of the logo at the front here. This is the coupler, and this is the power supply that connects via these 4 poles to the HYPSOS, which we'll look at momentarily. And then you have the basic power supply that comes with the OOR itself if you want to use this as a standalone unit with this switch mode 24-volt power supply. Now there is a big difference between the two when it comes to hard to drive headphones, which we will momentarily get onto. So let's take, oh my goodness, that's heavy. Let's take the HYPSOS here. Now this unit is a lot more basic, obviously. It's far more complicated software-wise. That's just a pure analog amplifier with absolutely no digital input anywhere. We get a AC power supply, switch, a 12-volt trigger, the power supply out for the OOR or any other unit you want to power with this unit, a USB connection for software updates down in the future. Now, as we turn this around, obviously we got the machined holes at the top and at the bottom for dissipating heat, but this one really does not get warm at all. It's this one that gets very toasty. We have this clicky push-in button with a jog wheel and a screen on the front. So let's put the OOR back on top, like so. It's a very, very small footprint. It looks beautiful. It's very, very industrial, very studio-esque, very professional looking, and it really does not take up much space on your desk in the slightest. Talking of numbers, the OOR outputs 8 watts of power at 60 ohms and 1.6 watts at 300 ohms. It can drive anything. Can it drive Sasvaras? Yes, it can. Can it drive Sasvaras to its absolute limits and hits its ceiling? No, it can't. But can it drive Sasvaras good enough that you don't have to worry? Yes, it does. So, 8 watts of power at 60 ohms. I don't quite know whether this doubles or this fluctuates between 8 and 10 watts for 32 ohms. I could not find that information anywhere online. I will have to reach out to FERRUM to actually double check on that and actually put it in the comment section, because that information I could not come by. THDN for this amplifier is 0.00004, so it's very clean. It's a very, very clean amp. Ohm load, I believe, is at around 0.3. Now, this is a fully discrete Class AB amplifier. There is no op-amps used in the construction of the topology of this. It's absolutely superb. Setting this unit aside and coming to its brethren. Now this one's a little bit more complicated. Come here. The HYPSOS is a dual switch mode and linear power supply. And it can be used with the OOR, I mean it was designed for this, but it can be used as a power supply for anything else. The specifications for this unit go from 5 volts all the way up to 30 volts. Now, The software implementation is really well done in this unit. When we load the HYPSOS for the very first time, we are provided with a selection screen with a list of manufacturers and products. It's like 30-40 pages long, and this via software is constantly being updated, which is amazing. So you can power your cord, such as the TT2 behind me, you can power your Mojo up there, or you can power the OOR or anything else. So it's going to be very versatile, especially in the future if you're deciding to actually bring other units in for review that don't have good power supplies. The unit is ultra smart. So using this coupler cable, it's a 4-pole, 2 of them are used for power, the other 2 are used to send the signal back to the amplifier and then back to the HYPSOS so that it can regulate the voltage, making sure that the running of the amplifier is smooth, there are no peaks and dips in the voltage, and providing a stable, clean, filtered current for your amplification. That's the first part. Very smart. Second of all, you can manually adjust the voltage in case the manufacturer you're looking for is not listed. Also, manual options are provided to actually mess with the amplifier's treble region when it comes to transients. But if you just choose the manufacturer that's listed, such as the OOR in there, everything's done for you. And here comes the second part. Once you have chosen your specific amplifier, you are given a variation voltage between certain parameters. So for example, on the OOR, between 22 volts and 30 volts. And you can manually adjust this on the fly to change the sound characteristics of the amplifier, depending on the headphones you're using. For some headphones it works, for others it doesn't, and it's incredible. Headphones such as the Fostex 909s that are extraordinarily picky can be tuned to sound just right. So that's the unit. Flagship? Most definitely. Well designed? Of course. How has it been performing? What have I been using it with? And how has the chain been set up? Let's discuss. So this unit has been on my desk for the last 3 or 4 months. I think quite a lot longer than that, to be fair. I think it might have actually been here since before Christmas. I can't recall. It's been such a dominant part of my chain for such a long time. It's just become part of the desk. Headphones for this unit I've used. Everything you see on the channel from December onwards has been put on this, such as the LCD5, Hi-Fi Varus, Fostex 909s, the Final Audio D8000 Pro being some of the flagships, Diana Phi. Some of those reviews might have not been released yet, but they are all coming. Not to mention a plethora of IEMs such as the Anima from Lime Ears, some of our basic ones like the Liz Shaw S12s, etc. Every single headphone, the Atrium, the VC that has passed through the channel has spent time on the OOR. As for DACs, because synergy is a thing, DACs make a huge difference, especially if you're in the flagship category. I have used the Holo Spring 2 Extreme Edition, Holo Audio May, KTE, IFI, I keep forgetting their name, iDSD Pro Signature, Benchmark DAC3B, Mojo 2, Griffin, Chord TT2, Chord Dave. Interconnects have been supplied via double helix, flagship tier. These things cost almost as much as the FERRUM stack by itself, honestly. So there has been no scrimping and scraping in regards to even the cables on the chains. As for how many hours? Probably 1,000 hours on this unit. Okay, all that's fine and dandy. Let's discuss the sound. The sound characteristic of the OOR by itself, first, is a transparent linear black background, slightly warm fun sound. Everything sounds sweet on it. I've never found any discourse with headphones, any synergy problems with headphones, even some of the most annoying headphones like the HiFiMan Varas, like the Fostex 909s, like the, what are those little things called? Emotiques, some of these weird headphones that really do require good synergy to sound their best. No, everything has been sugar. The sound characteristics of the Oor is your black coffee with double cream and a sprinkling of whiskey. The caffeine being the energy for the amplifier. The cream being the lusciousness for the amplifier. The whiskey being that touch of euphoric feeling you get after your first drink. I promise, I'm not addicted to alcohol. So yes, engaging, fun sounding, very transparent, quick, very controlled, quite a wide soundstage. The soundstage is not as wide as the Serene behind me. It's definitely on par with the Chord TT2. Does not match the Dave. That thing is freaking insane, even using its own internal amp. But it has a very big, identifiable soundstage. Using the HiFiMan Varas on the Oor first, let's break down the frequency response. Starting with the sub-bass region, depending on the DAC you use and the output stage of the DAC, this unit can dig ultra deep and low with the HiFiMan Varas, which is very, very difficult to obtain. You get that rumble, you get the actual bottomless depth that HiFiMan Vara can provide on the Chord Dave, on the Hollow Audio May, and incidentally, the signature from IFI. That thing hits hard. It's a very, very, very quick, very, very well defined DAC. All of those DACs have been run through this amp using its own pre or using the Serene, but using its own pre for the purposes of this review right now in this section. So yes, HiFiMan Vara sub-bass is available to you when you use this tiny unit. Is it as authoritative as the benchmark AHB2 behind me? Not quite, but I will say it's not too far off. Would you get bias remorse from this for Varas specifically rather than going with the AHB2? Well, the AHB2 is a fantastic speaker amplifier, an extraordinarily well designed amplifier for planar headphones randomly. It's not designed for that, but it really does work well if you use an adapter like I have there from Viking Weave or from Double Helix, the one next to it on the TT2. We've been using the taps out on that one. Maybe a touch because the authority is definitely there a tiny bit more. It's eking a little bit more performance out of the Varas than the AHB2, than the Oor, but only and only if you AB. If you listen to the AHB2, you will go, oh my god, Vara is incredible on this. But the next day, if you go on the Oor using a May or a Dave, you find that you've not missed much on the AHB2. And you've got to remember, the AHB2, when we do our comparisons in the next section, is a lot more analytical, less fun than the Oor itself. And then let's take the LCD5 for the sub-bass region. In fact, for every region, it's class leading on the Oor. I have rarely come across such profound, well-defined synergy between headphone and amplifier using the Chord Dave and the M scaler. It's absolutely tonally beautiful. Pitch black background, warm lush mid-range, sparkly smooth treble with detail. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Sub-bass digs deep, it's quick, it's very well textured. I find you get a bit more texture with Varas on the AHB2 than you do with the Oor, but the LCD5 is vice versa against the AHB2 than on the Oor. So on the Oor, the LCD5 definitely has more texture, liveliness, and a bit more engaging quality. Climbing up to the mid bass, LCD5 punches like a mule on this unit. Sesvara is pretty damn good on the Dave or the May, using as the DACs. I think LCD5 hits harder though. On the AHB2, Sesvara shows you what it can do. But on the OR, Sesvara's is a little bit politer. It's a bit more rounded. It's not as visceral. But the LCD5 using the Dave on the OR feels as though it's trying to hammer down your eardrums and meet in the middle of your head and do the fantango. The upper bass region of this unit is very well fleshed out. The bass region is very well fleshed out on this amplifier. It's very quick, it's very good transients, it's very resolving, and yet it's still fun. Honestly, this amplifier is amazing for music. The company FERRUM say it's an amplifier with a soul, and I think they're correct. It's one of the most engaging I've come across, the other being the Dave. Climbing up to the mid-range, from lower mids to mid-mids and upper mids, there is no shoutiness on any headphone. Even the ridiculously annoying Fostex 909s, where that's where problems begin, the upper mid-range into the treble region. If you drop the voltage, which we will talk about in a little bit, to 22 volts rather than the nominal 24 volts for the OR, sounds smooth, engaging, and absolutely beautiful. I think almost as good as the Fostex 909s on the Chord GT2. Check out the review for that. Vocals are very present, and they have got the ability on every headphone to move forward and back. LCD5 is definitely more lush, more engaging on the OR than Sesvara's. I would say on Sesvara's it shows up that tiny bit of dip in the lower mid-range. I think it's a bit more open and airy on the AHB2 than it is on the OR, but it's definitely something that you would not miss unless you've got them all on your desk at the same time. But the mid-range for LCD5 is beautiful. Instruments are very vivid, very textured, with the ability to resonate the filters that have been applied to specific tracks and instruments like guitars and cellos, such as reverb, delay. It really does articulate this aspect of the mid-range extraordinarily well on the LCD5. Sesvara just is effortless in the mid-range on this unit, absolutely. But the tonal balance of the Sesvaras might be hit and miss depending on your tastes. It's weird how the frequency response of Sesvaras changes with amplifiers. We will do the re-review. I'm just waiting for the second AHB2 so that we can do the monoblock test, and then we will do the review. Climbing up to the treble region, it's very well detailed. So for example, taking a classical track, one of my favorites, Hans Zimmer's Pirates of the Caribbean, it separates violins, horns, wind instruments all extraordinarily well. Everything's very well placed, articulated, yet it's got this beautiful smoothness. Nothing is ever discordant. Nothing is ever hitting you with a very hard edge, such as the IFI signature behind me. That has got a bit more bite to it. In fact, on the OR, no matter what DAC you use, even the DAC 3B, which is a bit more analytical, going alongside the Topping D90 and above, it's still rounding it out without actually depreciating the detail aspect of the information. It's rather airy, and honestly, I can't see any part of the frequency response of this amp it not corresponding and responding too well on any headphone. I'm only bringing up Sesvara's and the AHB2 because it's rather difficult to hit the ceiling for those headphones. I've not managed it yet on a 30,000 freaking pound chain, so science knows what the hell those headphones can push. Beyond that, because a Dave and an M scaler and a pair of AHB2s and a Serene as a pre, I think would be enough for anybody. But I still don't feel as though Sesvara's has hit its ceiling. But with the Dave M scaler LCD5 and the OR I think LCD5 has, and it's perfect. So many people will be so pleased with that setup. Let's talk about micro detail, staging, and vocals. Vocals are rather special on this amp because it does provide that sweetness, that beautiful roundedness, and yet it's rather vivid on every headphone. It just pops right there. But it has the articulation and the ability to come forward and back depending on the track, how the track was mixed. Nothing is ever very static, and the layering is really good on this amp as well. But everything is a little soft, no matter what DAC you use. No matter what headphone you use, by adjusting the voltage to smooth out some of those peaks, nothing is ever unpleasant. It's really difficult to actually find something I don't like about this amplifier. I would say I like Sesvara's more on the power amp behind me, but I think the tonal balance for Sesvara's tonally, using a May for a lot of soulful tracks with actual lyrics and not EDM, I think this has more soul. And look at the size of this thing. Look, 5 kilograms, tiny, very, very small. It's extraordinary what this company have achieved in this unit, because it's rather difficult to actually find amplifiers this small with these kind of performances. Welcome to the comparison section. As you can see, 3 amplifiers. $3,150, $4,500. What the hell are you? £2,799 or $2,799. Footprint wise, the IFI is the smallest by quite a bit, weighing probably just as much as the OR by itself. Very small unit. The next one being obviously this lot, much heavier with a 2 unit. But remember, both of these two have DACs inbuilt. This doesn't. This is just a pure amp. But this has the HYPSOS with all the adjustability for voltages and take some, lose some. And then we have this one. The most beautiful audio product, hardware-wise, ever designed, in my subjective opinion. Chord TT2. Absolutely love this. Mo, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much. IFI, thank you so much for lending this unit for review. It will be coming shortly. Let's talk about the frequency response in comparison with this lot. First of all, starting with tonal balance. Here's how this works tonally. Black background, OR first, then TT2, then IFI signature. Dynamics, microdynamics, punch and attack, IFI signature first. Then chord TT2, then OR. Using either of these DACs, the May, setting aside the Dave. Because when you put the Dave on the OR, that attack aspect becomes much closer. And I think on the LCD5, it beats it. Beats both of them. It's ridiculous. That DAC, check out the review, is absolutely incredible. World class for headphones. Vocals, I would give to the OR. On the TT2, it sounds a little bit too small. It's a lot more lush on the OR. It's a lot more engaging, even using the warm filter on the TT2. On the signature, it's more vibrant, it's more bright, but I think it's a little bit harsh in the upper mid-range at times. Not always, but at times. Much smoother on the OR and a lot more pleasing than both of these amps, I think. It provides a much more fun, engaging, rounded tonality. The signature is all about detail and reveal and analytical and edge of attack. The TT2 is about speed and edge of attack. But on the OR is very soulful, really soulful, smooth. Sub-bass region, signature takes it for attack. It's absolutely ridiculous. On the LCD5, I've never heard anything hit so hard. Maybe only by a fraction being edged out by the Dave on this unit. But when I put this through the OR, the sub bass and the attack and the rumble definitely is more defined when using the internal amp on this. And then the TT2, this thing hits hard, very hard. But Chord are renowned for their edge of attack and their speed. Mid bass, attack and violence and speed, I would definitely give to the IFI Signature and TT2. These two are definitely on par. I think the OR is a little bit more polite and a little bit below that. I mean, most people won't be using a Dave, they'll be using anything from a benchmark DAC 3B and downwards and maybe upwards, maybe Spring 3, etc. May for some of you, May KTE for some of you. Mid-range OR, TT2, and then IFI Signature because of the lushness and everything else we described earlier. Treble region, okay, this is where it gets a bit tricky. I would give the treble region for detail to the OR first, for smoothness first, for transparency first. Then I would give it for detail, for resolution to the Signature next, then the TT2. But for smoothness, the Signature is last. It's a bit forward, it's a bit fatiguing at times, even when engaging the little bit of tubes on this side, bloop, but on maximum tube that goes away and it becomes beautiful. But we will discuss all that later. So quite honestly, I think 4,500, 2,799, 3,100, do they perform in their price brackets as it's given? No. I think I prefer OR than I prefer TT2 amp section. Legitimately. And I think it does a better job for Sesvaras and LCD5s than TT2 does, the OR that is. The amp section, if it wasn't for this intimate stage, this is really, really good. This is absolutely amazing. So I would say OR for overall, for 70% Signature, and for the other 30% TT2, that being the stage. The stage is very big on the TT2. So which of these can drive anything? You don't have to worry about anything. Using the taps out of the back of the TT2, I don't feel it was though it was designed for headphones. It feels a bit over dampened. I tried it with the LCD5 last night for the very first time and I wasn't too blown away. I mean, the mid-range and the treble region really did improve, but the lower end felt a bit over dampened. So I think it will be out of these two. Versatility is the OR because you can put any DACs through it. You can't put much through this. This is an integrated all-in-one like this one is. This is just a pure amp by itself. So you can add your own DACs, change things. Obviously with a voltage change from the HYPSOS, you can actually adjust and tweak headphones on the fly, which we really need to get onto as well. This is the most versatile. This amp will do it all, from IEMs all the way up to Sesvaras, just shaving off that last 5%. But don't worry about that. I don't think it's that important. Honestly, not for the design and the tininess you get, and not for the versatility. You can't really throw a lot of IEMs on the AHB2. You can't throw many dynamic headphones on the AHB2. It chokes the life out of it. I'm not a fan. Only good for planars. This is good for everything. This is the most versatile thing you're going to buy, and I think it will be on your desk for a very long time. So let's talk about this voltage I keep bringing up for the OR and the HYPSOS for headphones. Starting with the Fostex 909s. Now this optimum nominal voltage for this is 24 volts, and with that the Fostex 909s is very sharp in the treble region, and for anything but classical it's fatiguing, and quite honestly it's just offensive at times. Not a fan in the slightest. But dropping the voltage to 22 volts smooths out the treble region, really brings out the detail without any loss, just fixing the frequency response and giving it a touch of warmth and a touch of life. Really is amazing. It takes those headphones from being to okay, I'm going to be listening to these for the next few days. The Hi-Fi Sesvaras at 24 volts is a little bit too rounded for my taste. I like a bit of edge of attack. I like a bit of detail on the edge, and I like a tiny bit of sharpness without being sibilant, without being fatiguing. For that, I normally cruise around the 26 volt marker, which is 2 volts above the nominal. And for Sesvaras, it really does add life. It breathes some life into the edge of that headphone and takes away some of that roundedness that this amplifier specifically provides. I felt as though the Meze Audio Elites was fine, cruising around 24 volts, didn't need anything. The Verite closed 24 volts, the Atrium was at 24 volts, all those were superb, nominal, very pleasing. The Emotiques behind me needed to be around 23 volts. That thing with those other pads that we were using previously was really sharp, so it really did need a bit of softening, a bit of taming. But I just got the Emotiques back. Thanks again, Mo, with its stock pads. I'll be doing a lot more testing with that as well, and I'll drop it into our Telegram chat. So if you're interested in that, either the private Telegram chat, join our Patreon where you get early reviews, or the public Telegram chat where I drop in occasionally and give my thoughts on what the hell is happening here. So the versatility of the voltage change really does depend on the headphones. Some headphones need it, some headphones don't need it. Some headphone needs a bigger swing, others really don't, just 1 volt or half a volt at times. But to be able to adjust it and not feel as though you're applying EQ, it's not the same concept in the slightest. It's keeping the same characteristics of the headphones, but only marginally on the borders of the frequency response do you find a touch of nudginess, a touch of smoothness, a touch of refinement, and it really does make certain headphones shine who otherwise would remain on the shelf somewhere gathering dust. Okay, let's discuss the OOR as a standalone unit by itself. This unit can be anemic for hard to drive headphones such as the Sesvara and the LCD5 if you're using its own 24 volt switch mode power supply and not the HYPSOS. I think it sounds nice in the mid-range, it sounds beautiful, lush, and you still get that beautiful black background and detail, but I don't think it has the authority and the dynamics that the HYPSOS provides. It doesn't have the hit factor, it doesn't have the impact. It just feels a little bit soft and a little bit polite and just gentle and sweet sounding. And I think you really do need the HYPSOS. Using IEMs like the Lime Ears Anima and the Tin T3 Hi-Fi, two ends of the spectrum, $70 versus $3,200, but there you go. Also the Planars, the Litshaw S12s, completely fine by itself on the OOR by itself, absolutely no problem. Even Atrium was okay by itself. I didn't feel as though there was much that was lacking. It's pretty fantastic by itself, but when I put LCD5 on there, I found that it became a little bit anemic in the sub-bass region and in the mid-bass region. It wasn't digging as low, it wasn't quite as tangibly flagship. Those drivers are insane, and I think it requires the current and the juice that the HYPSOS provides. So I would not buy this unit by itself personally. I would buy it together. Could you buy it by itself and wait to save up money to buy the HYPSOS? Yes, please do that. That's fine. But could you buy it by itself and other than IEMs and certain light headphones, would you use it as your main thing by itself? I wouldn't do that personally, no, because I think there are better out there. Honestly, I really do. Let's talk about the caveats of this amplifier. What don't I like about it? Very little, actually. As a standalone unit, it performs well. I think there are better units for $2,000 by itself. I would rather spend a little bit more and get the Sennheiser HDVD 820. I think that is absolutely astonishing for that price. Now you can get it for about $1,000. It's mind-blowing. I think stretching a little bit more, I could get the IFI Signature with its own inbuilt quad DAC from Burr Brown. It's a multi-bit. Not only that, it's got internal tubes you can switch on, and it will output the tubes straight into the pre section, which is beautiful. You can add some flavors like I've been doing with the AHB2. You get a streamer inbuilt. This thing's an absolute beast. So by itself, the Oor, no, I think there are better out there. I genuinely do. I just would add an extra bit of money and I would say, okay. I mean, where did I put it? The switch mode power supply is 24 volt. It's fine for not hard to drive headphones and IEMs. It will do you fine, completely. But I don't think it's, do I think it's a $2,000 unit by itself? $500 too expensive. Do I think it's worth $3,150 with a HYPSOS? Oh my god, yeah, because it takes it up to a whole new level. So yeah, that will be my little caveat. Anything else? Switches are beautiful. I honestly can't think of anything else. Maybe the design, it's ergonomic, it's industrial, it's solidly built. Does it look as pretty as this? Hell no. Does it look as beautiful as this? Nah. That's not fair. This has got its own characteristic and I think it looks rugged and it looks nice. I can't think of anything else. Sorry, if you think of one, please put it in the comment section and let me know what the hell your caveats have been for this thing, because I can't think of one. It's versatile as hell. Okay, conclusion. Is the Oor worth $3,150? Yes. Is it a flagship? Oh my freaking god, yes. Is it versatile? Definitely. Does it work through a large variety of headphones without the need to worry about, oh my god, I don't think this is going to power my headphone? Yes, it does. Is it analytical? Is it detail galore? Is it reference? No. Is it lush? Is it beautiful? Is it engaging? Is it providing you the source of the music and setting everything else aside? Yes, it does. It really does. Let's do the conclusion and scores. Ergonomics. 5 tigers out of 5. This thing's tiny, this thing's small, this thing's versatile, and this thing is a beast when you add the HYPSOS. Design and build quality. Exceptional. Beautifully designed. Clicky buttons. Very, very, very responsive and not a bad pot either. Does it scale with DAC? It really truly does. But nothing will sound bad on it. Things will sound better on it the higher you go up the chain. For example, using the Signature, then using the DAC3B, then using the TT2, then using May, then using the Dave. There was differences and nuances and every single one of them could be identified and defined. This amplifier is absolutely solid. I give this a solid 4 tigers out of 5. Well done, FERRUM. Looking forward to hearing what you are developing for your next project. I'm Koji CEO. I will see you next time. Peace.